Well, when I was a little girl, we never could afford cookies like this.
What was life back then?
What do you mean?
Like back in Europe?
Oh, well, in the 19th century, southern and eastern Europe relied on agriculture, which are things like farming.
What was like the people?
Conditions weren't the best. Serfdom ended, but people were still poor and had no land. Many peasants suffered from famine. It's a sad story. Some people lived in urban places, cities, like we do, but they were alone and had very little room. Because of this, there were harsh economic conditions and persecution, causing the poor to migrate to other countries.
What was the Great Famine? My teacher mentioned it once.
Oh, the Great Famine, a horrible, horrible time. The Irish relied on potatoes for food and peat, which was decomposed plant matter for fuel and heat. Blight, which was a disease, destroyed these crops. Because of this, many Irish migrated to the U.S. and South America in the 1840s and 50s. This famine lasted 4 years.
How were people affected by the famine and other political issues?
Many of the Irish became poor because of their crops were affected by blight and made them no money. Most English landowners ignored the needs of these poor and homeless Irish people, but some built homes for the homeless. These houses were crowded, causing disease and increased death rates. In the end, the population decreased by 20% due to death and immigration.
Where'd they go?
The U.S., Britain, Canada, and Australia.
How'd they get there?
Many went on ships, sometimes referred to as coffin ships, because many of the people on them didn't reach their destination due to hunger and sickness. There's a lot more to the story. You might want to have a cookie.
Did this hurt Ireland?
I'm afraid so. The country was poor for many decades, with most people depending on subsistence farming and fishing for livelihoods.
Wait, where was Ireland again?
It was part of the UK in 1801.
Oh, so were they Catholic?
Some were. The English were landowning Protestants, while the Irish tenants were Catholic.
Who controlled Ireland?
They were a part of the UK, which Britain had the most power in. Britain saw Ireland as inferior and a source of produce. And after the famine, political tensions worsened between Ireland and Britain.
What did Ireland do about it?
Well, there were a lot of riots. The first was because of Britain's lack of help, so the government sent troops to suppress them. Later in the 19th century, the Irish campaigned for the Home Rule, which would allow for self-government in the UK. Irish Unionists opposed this as they saw this as a great threat to their power, but Parliament still passed it. During World War I, the bill got delayed, so the rebels seized the main post office, known as the Easter Rising of 1960. 15 rebels were executed. This caused outrage, leading to years of fighting, but in 1922, a peace agreement was made. This created the Irish Free State, which included most of Ireland, except Ulster.
Wow, Ireland was going through a lot. What was it like for other countries, like Russia?
Yes, they were. But in Russia, the Tsar ruled an absolute monarch, so traditional roles changed very slowly. Tsar Alexander II saw serfdom lessened in Russia's power, caused people to work less hard, providing little wealth for military, and created poor soldiers. He tried to fix this with the Emancipation Edict of 1861, a slow process of abolishing serfdom. This allowed peasants to buy land, but they were too poor and had little education, so many stayed on the same estates, which led to little change after the emancipation.
Grandma, how were you part of all this, like as women at this time?
I believe us women had it better before all of this. The 17th century was really the golden age for women, since our status was raised by our economic contributions. We mainly did domestic labor, working in the home to produce cloth, crops, and other products so our family wouldn't have to buy these items. Many people even viewed us as self-sufficient.
Mom says close for me.
Exactly. But us women didn't always have it good. Soon, there was a huge rise in capitalism, which meant that women made money out of the home and made an impact on the public. Meanwhile, women were only able to influence their homes.
Oh, women fought for that, right?
Of course, we may have been isolated, but this helped us develop skills in tending to the moral and spiritual needs of our family. With this, we were able to support our fellow women who had to work in the factories and eventually began in the temperance movement.
What's a temperance movement?
Supported limiting or completely banning alcohol consumption. This pressured the public into giving us a voice and in the end increased our status among the public.
How do men feel about this?
This is no surprise, but the men were the ones holding us back. A lot of times, they would reduce our wages and treated us insignificantly to keep their status. And there were even reforms passed that limited our job and schooling opportunities. It was a hard time for us, but we managed to get through it.
I hope you learned a lot. I did. Thanks, Grandma.